Hi, I'm Dempsey Palat, and this week I'm reviewing Now, before we start off, as always, I just want to take a quick second to remind you guys to make sure you hit that like button if you like today's video, and if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well for more new movie-related content weekly. But, without further ado, let's jump into today's film. Come Play was written and directed by Jacob Chase and stars Gillian Jacobs and John Gallagher Jr. as two parents who learn that a monster, which manifests itself through electronic devices, is preying on their autistic son. Now, going into this film, I have to be honest, I had no idea what it was about. I didn't see a trailer, I didn't read a synopsis, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, because it genuinely freaked me out. This film is genuinely terrifying at times. Now, it's not as nightmare-inducing as like some of the horror classics like The Exorcist or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Thing, but compared to a lot of the other films that are being peddled around within the horror genre today, it certainly gets the job done. Both the sound design and the direction work in tandem to create some really terrific tension. And the opening scene is a testament to that. Within the first 5 minutes, you're thrust into meeting the film's monster, Larry. And I apologize to my fellow YouTuber LC Screen Talk, whose real name is Larry, but I will never not think about that thing ever again whenever I hear that name. And it goes to show you just how effective the filmmakers are at establishing how threatening he is. Even though, for a vast majority of the film, he's not visible to the naked eye. One of the coolest and most noteworthy things about the film is that Larry can only be seen through a device's camera. And there's a lot of fun to be had with filters and POV shots. Granted, it has been done before by the Paranormal Activity films and even the smash hit horror film that came out earlier this year, Host, but it's still fun to experience. One of my favorite sequences, though, actually involves the father, played by the always excellent John Gallagher Jr., as I mentioned earlier. In the film, he works at a toll booth in this parking lot in the middle of nowhere, and while his first encounter with Larry is far from forgettable, it's his second standoff with him that stands out the most because he has to fight him double blind, without technology and in the dark. Aside from John Gallagher Jr. though, the entire cast is really great. After seeing her in Community and Love, it's interesting to see Gillian Jacobs in a motherly role here, but it certainly showcases her acting range. Azzy Robertson, who was previously seen in the middle of a nasty custody battle in Marriage Story, plays the couple's autistic son Oliver, and I thought he was pretty good too. For the most part, for a large part of the film, he's non-verbal, and he's so convincing that at times you feel just as helpless as he is in certain situations. All of the positives aside, I must admit there were a few things that I wasn't too crazy about. First and foremost, the CGI is not great. As terrifying as Larry is, when we finally do get to see him in his entirety, it doesn't live up to the hype. And he's nowhere near as scary as he was when we experienced him as an invisible presence. Secondly, Spongebob, yes, the Spongebob, plays a massive role in this movie, to a fault. Okay? I don't think anybody could have seen how influential Spongebob is in this movie. While he doesn't come across like product placement, he definitely feels shoehorned in. And without giving too much away, his theme song plays such a huge role in the third act that it's not even funny. But the way in which it's used really and literally made me laugh out loud. And that brings me to my final point, the third act. The final 20 minutes of this movie just goes off the rails, okay? Well, not the movie itself. I would say more so the characters go off the rails. A lot of the choices that they make are just ridiculous, and while it is clear that many of them have reached a breaking point, the way in which they try to rid themselves of Larry is also very laughable. But even in its silliest moments, this film should not be underestimated because it's still pretty effective. All things considered, the film's message about how the devices that are built to connect us do a far better job at isolating ourselves from one another is one of the more interesting social commentaries that I've seen in the horror genre recently. And while it may not turn everyone who sees it on, at the very least I think it'll make you realize why it's so important to unplug in the first place. And for that, I'm going to give this film 3 stars.
Will you be Larry's friend?
Now, while the review may be over, I still have some content to share in regards to the film. I was actually fortunate enough to speak to one of the actors, John Gallagher Jr., about his role, among other things. So if you want to check out the interview in its entirety, if you want to learn a little bit more about what happened behind the scenes, I'll put the link down below in the description box so you can check it out. And hopefully you enjoy it just as much as you enjoyed the review. Guys, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to view this video. It really does mean the world to me. And once again, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well for more new movie-related content weekly. Now, if you happen to see this movie, if you loved it, if you hated it, let me know what you thought about it down below in the comment section. I look forward to reading and responding to all of your comments. And yeah, that's pretty much all the time that I have for you guys today. So as always, be on the lookout for more new content. I'm always working on new stuff. And well, I should probably get back to work, right? Until next time, I'm Dempsey Pallot. Take care.